Sorry to trouble you, Keeper, but we do seem to have a problem here. Please tell them who we are, will you?
Okay.
Welcome, talking statues, obsessed politicians, and evil baked potatoes, to the 234th episode of an Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on the 29th of November, 2017, and featuring The Keeper of Traken, written by Johnny Byrne, and starring Tom Baker as the Doctor, Matthew Waterhouse as Adric, and introducing Sarah Sutton as Nissa of Traken and Geoffrey Beevers as the Master. I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and with me are Mad Matt Winchell.
Mermaid Man was voiced by Ernest Borgnine.
Yep.
Randy Ronson McCulloch.
Always a pleasure.
Aaron Romeo Moon Burke.
I hate my job.
Thomas Fireheart.
Australia might finally have marriage equality next week.
And with Tim the Enchanter to join us sometime during or after the news.
Which is why he's been dealt out of the news.
Yes.
No, I'm just finding that irony, considering the fact that our country is probably doing its best to try to reverse that here.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that piece of legislation to be announced.
I mean, technically, from what I know, we had it at some point, technically, because it never used to be gender defined, and then they defined it like maybe 10, 20 years ago.
When they realized that there was that loophole, essentially.
Yeah, and then they undid it, and now they're redoing it.
Well, it was, that was a piece of legislation that happened during the Obama administration here, and Donald Trump seems possessed to try to tear down everything that Obama accomplished.
I don't think there was legislation. I think the Supreme Court just said that by the letter of the Constitution, states have no place to deny same-sex marriages.
Yeah, but look at them. They'll look for a way.
Yeah.
It still happened during Obama's presidency.
Oh, that's what you guys are talking about. I'm more worried about the internet thing, but I guess if that popped up, I didn't notice that one.
No, it was just that Thomas had mentioned that they're currently making sure that that's a thing in Australia. And I'm just like, they're going to try to find a way.
And you're waiting for that to be one of the checklist things.
Yeah.
Actually, apparently to what he said on the road, Trump was for it. So.
Yeah, well, how many things did he say he was for on the road and has gone against now? So
I know at one point he said that he was pro-choice. And look at all the shit he's done since then.
Yeah.
When he was on the road, he was pro whatever would get him vote.
Yep.
Isn't that any politician? Why do we hire any of these people?
No, not always. Some of them have their guns that they stick to.
Yeah.
Like literally the guns.
Anyway, we try not to get political on this show just because it's a big, messy ball of wax that can cause controversy. So we're going to try to get this conversation.
Even though, as we've seen with Doctor Who coverage, some people believe simply having certain genitals is a political statement.
Again, trying to keep politics out of it. I mean, we'll discuss the politics of an episode, but...
Yeah. We'll discuss the politics of an episode if we feel like it did something stupid.
All right, so on tonight's episode is the news, and there's a bit of news. Nothing absolutely huge, but a couple of decent things. Our Geek Talk section, in which I'm at least going to talk about the CW Arrowverse's big 4-part crossover event that happened earlier this week. I have no rant of the week because I've been busy concerned about starting cardio rehab at the end of this week.
And if we have enough time, maybe I'll throw in some trailer talk quick, but not pushing for it. We'll see how we go.
Mm-hmm. Then we're on to the 5-minute challenge and the episode review, our final thoughts and ratings. So, going into the news, we of course start with birthdays, and we actually have a few this time. Starting on the 23rd of November, we celebrate the birthday of Michelle Gomez, better known as Missy to everybody that's been watching in the last few years. She turned 51. After Missy's end in The Doctor Falls, we haven't really seen hide nor hair of Michelle Gomez of late. She could be resting up for her next role, or she could be on stage acting. Again, it's hard to track people when they're on stage.
Yep.
She could have just opened up her umbrella and been whisked away to return at some random point in the future.
Speaking of umbrella, would it be hilarious if she was doing a stage version of Mary Poppins?
It would. It would be hysterical. Okay, so then we move on from the 23rd to the 25th of November, and the birthday of Sophie Hopkins, who played April in Class. She turned 27. Since the failure of Class, Sophie hasn't been on the big or small screen. It's possible the failure of Class has turned her away from acting, or it's possible that, like Michelle Gomez, she's on stage, and we don't know about it.
She could be going back to stage for a while and waiting for her better chance at getting to the small screen or big screen.
Maybe next time they'll give me a show that doesn't suck.
Yeah, essentially. Essentially, looking at her agent and just saying, please, no first-time attempts this time.
All right. So from the 25th of November, we go to the 27th of September and the birthday of Samantha Bond, who played Mrs. Wormwood in the Sarah Jane Adventures, or is it Miss Wormwood?
Wasn't it? Yeah.
She was the primary antagonist in the pilot, and also one of the later episodes that dealt with the Bane.
Well, a couple of later episodes that dealt with the Bane.
Yeah,
I believe she
came
in back to it twice. I think in the second season.
Samantha has done quite a bit since the Sarah Jane days, but most recently, she's had the lead role in A Royal Winter. Which I'm not sure what that is, but that seems to be what she's credited as. So we go from the 27th to the 28th of November, and the birthday of Karen Gilliam, better known as Amelia Pond, or Amy Pond if you prefer, turned 30. Karen is all over the place this year, acting in 4 movies, the most famous 2 of them being Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which came out earlier this year, and Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, due out next month. And Bill, please stop putting your flag all over where I'm trying to talk.
But is what?
He was clicking back and forth between between the paragraph I'm reading. So I'm trying to read, and there's this thing that says Unearthly Podcast in the way. Anyway, she also, upcoming, has the 2 Avengers Infinity War movies. So she's going to be a busy girl.
And I don't think she was in today's trailer.
I don't think so. So if she is showing up for this, it's going to be a surprise.
Well, she's not part of the main group anyways, so she could just surprise anyways.
Then we move on to the 29th, today, with 2 birthdays, one of which is Naoko Mori, who played Toshiko Shadow in Torchwood.
And retconned into 1 episode of Doctor Who.
And, well, no, the actress wasn't retconned in, the character was.
But who she played was, yeah.
Yeah. We haven't seen much of her last year since 1 vocal appearance in The Amazing World of Gumball in 2016. She has been in the Torchwood range in Big Finish, and possibly as well on stage. And then finally, the birthday of Michael Craze, who played Ben, as of Ben and Polly, at the end of the first Doctor era, beginning of the second. He would have been 75, but he died in 1998 at the age of 56. So happy birthday, Michelle, Sophie, Samantha, Karen, and Naoko. And there we go from births to deaths. Only there's no deaths this week.
Yay!
Yes. Nobody in Doctor Who fame died.
Is that 2 weeks now, or is that 1 week?
No, we were down to 1 death last week instead of 2.
It said 2, so yeah, we're down to 1 week at this point of no deaths.
Do we need to start a counter on that?
I think so.
And thankfully, no Doctor Who alumni have had their careers die due to sexual assault or harassment
That
allegations.
doesn't seem to be as big of a thing in the UK.
Well, there's also the fact that the big ones from at least the classic era seem to have already been dealt with and outed years
Yeah,
ago.
and most of them were actually pedophiles.
Right.
Because that was the thing that happened a few years back.
Mm-hmm.
That there was a couple of really big name BBC employees that got hit for
Pedophilia?
well, they don't call it pedophilia. I was trying to remember, child assault or child molestation or something
Child
like that.
enticement?
Something like that. And it was one of these. They were people that were too big that they thought their fame just was a shield. And now we're seeing that same wall coming down here in the United States versus women instead of children. But but here it's kind of gone insane because, of course, we are a litigation society, and once the lawyers get a hold of something, it's like sharks. It's like chum in the water for sharks.
Mm-hmm.
Just hearing that Jaws theme play while about a dozen guys are circling around.
A bunch of people in suits with briefcases, yes.
You see the briefcases dipping in and out of the water.
All right, so we're going from deaths to episode news. And Aaron.
Yeah. So, we've got a new image for Twice Upon a Time. Let's see here. Yeah, we've got a new image as well as a synopsis for the new Doctor Who Christmas special, Twice Upon a Time. The magical final chapter of the 12th Doctor's journey sees the Time Lord team up with his former self and the first ever Doctor, and a returning Bill Potts for one last adventure. Two doctors stranded in an Arctic snowscape refusing to face regeneration, enchanted glass people stealing their victims from frozen time, and a World War I captain destined to die on the battlefield, but taken from the trenches to play his part in the Doctor's story. An uplifting new
can I
tale
stop you
about...
for just a moment?
Huh?
Say that whoever wrote the synopsis really needs to go back to punctuation school. Because that's that second sentence, enchanted glass people stealing victims from frozen time. That's not a sentence!
No, but it's common in a synopsis like this to use a sentence fragment like that.
I know, but it's horrible. And then they start the next one with an "and," which you don't do.
Mm-hmm.
I read this like 20 minutes ago, and it literally made me mad.
And that's something like that is... Yeah, and in a script, it's technically acceptable, but it's definitely grammatically off. But it's common enough that it usually doesn't bother me in this sort of setting. Because like in a trailer, this is how they would talk. So that's kind of how.
No, it wouldn't be. They would say these words, but the way they would say it in a trailer, it would have been one sentence.
Matt, I'll read this.
But
here.
they would have
enchanted glass people stealing their victims from frozen time.
They would say like the refusing to face regeneration. Then there'd be a clip of people talking, like doing other things. There'd be an explosion. Enchanted glass people, frozen time. There'd be somebody shooting somebody with a laser pistol or something, and then a World War I captain. So that's kind of how I see this.
Yes, but you're inserting scenes where they don't have scenes.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I'm not so much inserting, just as being used to it.
Anyway,
it just annoys the hell out of me.
Anyway, it's the grammar Nazi.
A caramel Nazi?
Grammar Nazi.
Jeez. So while we're looking at this, we've had wood people, stone people, other wood people. We haven't had Aaron finish their lines. Androids made of people, and now we're having glass people. Oh, and snow people, and now we're having glass people.
We haven't hit dinner.
Have we had
people?
Have we had fog people? We've had lava people, haven't we?
We've had lava people.
We've had lava people.
So now we need crab people.
And they all talk in
We had
hilarious,
that in
high-pitched
60.
voices.
All right, so there's not much left of that synopsis, so you guys can
Yeah,
go
that
ahead
was
and read it
actually
on.
the synopsis itself, because the rest of it was just describing it.
Yeah, pretty much. I was going to start at 2 doctors stranded in Arctic snowscape. Ba-bum. Bum-bum-bum.
No. Let's not start over again trying to do this. 'Cause
I want you to
down
do it
the
without being
road.
interrupted, just to make Randy fidget.
I don't know.
Okay.
I had a hard time reading it. That's all.
All right.
Grumpy
and there
Randy's grumpy.
Also, we have a Twice Upon a Time teaser from BBC America, which we cannot play, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's basically that same image that you see from the previous one. That's why I kind of put it in the same topic. It's just they kind of animated the teaser a little bit. They made the hand
I'm
not
watching
glow,
it now.
then glow. Yeah,
it looks like a what do you call it? Movable wallpaper or whatever, or
Oh yeah, it looks like
dynamic
those
wallpaper.
animated
Right.
still image things. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh man, I thought this was going to be so cool, and all it is a dynamic wallpaper.
Yeah.
Oh look, it's a Golden Books animation.
It was nothing
It's
there,
someone
but it's
sliding the Photoshop layer back and forth.
yeah. Pretty much.
Look, this
And-
is animation. I swear to God.
It was in the
it's
80s.
At least nice to know that the BBC America is actually starting to promote this.
Remember back in the day when it was called Picturemation?
Golden Books, baby. Golden Books. Actually, some of the best He-Man stories were told during the Golden Books with
Same thing
animation
with
like
She-Ra.
that.
I have a She-Ra VHS with that.
Mm-hmm.
Golden Book She-Ra.
I have my only He-Man tape from when I was a kid. About 3 or 4 stories on it. Anywho.
Yeah.
Anywho, outside of flat cardboard animations.
Randy, did you have something to add?
Not about this, but let's go on to the next news article.
Next.
That would be yours.
Yep, I know. Hey there. Are you hockey hosers up there in the Northwoods worried that you're not going to be able to see Twice Upon a Time? Hey, just because you've got family stuff going on and you're not going to be able to get to the TV or, the hockey's on? Well, you don't have to worry about that anymore because Cineplex, one of the major movie providers in Canada, has decided they're going to show Doctor Who on Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. and on Thursday at 7. So there, you can get down to the theater pretty much anywhere in Canada and keep your stick on the ice there. Not only are they going to be showing the episode, but there's going to be 2 bonus presentations after the feature, one of which is the behind-the-scenes making of the Christmas special, and then a celebration of Peter Capaldi's tenure as the Doctor and Stephen Moffat as showrunner there. So, hey, you can watch that and be cool and talk to all your friends there.
You sounded bored and flat, so yeah, just like a Canadian.
When you said "Hey there," I was so close to saying "Ho there."
Yeah, do he?
All right.
Yeah,
so,
it's just I had to do that with the Canadian accent there. A little bit strange. I think I want a little strange brew on it, but still.
Well, you got to see your lines, don't you know?
Wait, does that make it me then?
Yes, we're
Possibly.
up to you
Alright.
and our cast and crew news.
Yep. So,
Callbox, which isn't loading.
yeah, for me,
There it goes.
originally it loaded in a horrified, stretchy way, and I thought that Coltbox did something terrible, but it was just loading slowly.
I just had to refresh. It was being weird.
But we've talked a little bit about how Shada, the incomplete Douglas Adams, Tom Baker story, is being animated and released. Well, here we have some further news that a live-action bridging scene is being or has recently been shot featuring Tom Baker on the set of the 1979 TARDIS.
Funny, is it a recreation of the 1979 TARDIS set?
It must be. I'm not sure if they have
It
that around
says
anymore.
the set from 1979, But they
I thought
may mean a
that's-
recreation.
I
it
think
seems
it's a
really weird that it's
recreation
still
because
Yeah.
I think the 1979 set got water
Um,
damaged.
That's why
They
they
said
had
it
to
was
give him a different one.
Is Television Center a studio or a museum?
It's kind of a little of
I think
each
it's where
these
all
days.
the Doctor Who studio work was done. I could be wrong.
Okay.
It was at the time.
Because
So maybe
if,
they had bits and bobs of the original and they recreated
Yeah,
the
if-
rest.
Television Center used to be the BBC's headquarters until they moved like 5 years ago.
Okay,
Mm.
well this it says was recorded in Television Center in London, so if that's a place where they would have kept like old things for people to come and look at, then it's possible it was the original set or parts of it.
Yeah, it's possible they managed to salvage enough of it to make it showable.
I'm just
Okay.
really wondering what they shot because we had bridging scenes from the VHS version.
I didn't think it was a bridging scene. I thought it was a bonus
Um,
scene.
They say, well, I mean, Okay, actually, this sentence is really weird, so I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
It says, for not only has Tom Baker returned to voice animation, comma, that's been used to bridge the material for the story that wasn't recorded. I'm not sure what that means. So I took that to mean that they recorded a new live action bridging scene, but rereading it, it doesn't actually say that.
No, it never says the word bridging scene, and I thought I had read that it was just a bonus. Perhaps
That might make
perhaps a new
sense.
opening.
Yeah, that's
Actually, a new
possible.
opening would be fantastic with a live action Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Just
And
so
of
that
course-
somebody explains why the parts to this are animated and he can come on like he used
Yeah,
to.
so it may be like that scene in the VHS where he's in the museum and he says, "Oh, hey, I'm gonna talk about my old story, except this is gonna be
Mm-hmm.
different."
And it could just be something for the bonus features too.
Just to see them in that jacket
yeah,
and that
that
old
too.
scarf just gives me all the warm fuzzies I need anyway.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
Although it would be hilarious. I doubt this is going to happen, and if it does happen, I doubt it's going to be in a canon way. But it would be hilarious if it links to the curator at the end of Day of the Doctor.
It
That's
would,
stretching
but
for it.
it is really stretching it. By the way,
Yeah,
I was
it
right.
is.
The Television Center was the headquarters of BBC Television between 1960 and 2013.
Mhm.
Okay.
So yeah, if they did have any leftover bits and bobs, it would have been there, possibly.
Tom Baker's too good to film in Cardiff.
Well, it also could be that's where they're storing some of the old sets, and
Yeah,
that
I
set
think
Yeah.
that's the case.
could have been part of the Doctor Who experience.
Right. No, yeah,
Until it
I don't honestly
Possibility,
think he
too.
refused to go to Cardiff.
What?
I said I don't honestly think he refused to go to Cardiff. I think
No, I'm pretty sure.
I think what you said is a lot more likely.
Yeah, but now that the Doctor Who experience is not there, it's possible that the old Who sets got moved back to Television Center.
Yeah, where they're
BBC
storing them again.
Yeah, BBC does still rent space in Television Center. They sold the building, but they still rent space back from it.
So they might be renting storage space, and then they rented a quick little thing for Tom to do a special for a DVD.
Yep. I can't remember who actually owns Television Center now, but it's Stanhope PLC. So, not sure what that is, but the BBC still rents stuff from them now. I think the BBC did move Doctor Who there after it outgrew Lime Grove.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember us ever talking about Lime Grove Studios, that was the place they started.
That's where they started. Where if they shot for too long, the sprinklers would go off.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
the place where it would be like 90 degrees while they're filming.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure Television Center still had the thing that if they ran over, the power would be turned off on them.
During the early 70s, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was still a monetary issue back then for BBC. Anyway, we're kind of rambling now.
Yeah, I know. It's just interesting little pieces of trivia there. Anyway, it's good to see Tom Baker back in his Doctor outfit.
Yep.
I'm wondering if they actually had that in storage or if he pulled it out of a closet.
Speaking of
Either.
doctor-related outfits, that's your cue, Aaron.
It's my cue. Grab. Come on. Hang on.
Everybody's missing their cues.
I am. I'm here. I was on BBC News reading horrible things.
Then knock it off and just prep your next cue.
Alright. I have it up. I'll go. TARDIS knitted tie. Now you too can own a TARDIS knitted tie. Lavarzi have launched the latest in their range of Doctor Who merchandise, a TARDIS knitted tie. The TARDIS has been an iconic symbol of Doctor Who since the show's very first episode. And this tie exclusively designed tie is Lavarzi's celebration of the blue box that's as instantly recognizable as the Dalek Cyberman and the Fourth Doctor's multicolored scarf. Why didn't they make a tie that's the multicolored scarf then?
I would prefer that.
That would have been like
I
more
think
impressive.
ThinkGeek sells that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that would have been way more impressive. All right, it's made in Italy from high quality wool and acrylic, soft and resistant to fading, and available in blue and gray. Why would you get it in gray? Well, it's the TARDIS is blue on the gray. I don't know.
Better be, otherwise I'd be disappointed.
And it comes in a black presentation box, foil printed with the Doctor Who logo.
Yes, you can buy a Doctor Who Tom Baker Fourth Doctor scarf tie.
Yeah, that's actually here.
So looking at the two versions.
This is the actual second Doctor Who tie unique to Lavarzi, following a popular multicolored Fourth Doctor knitted tie in 2015. So they've done it.
Yes.
So they already did do it. We just didn't notice it.
And Lavarzi is UK's leading online scarf retailer.
By the way, that Tom Baker tie is like over $50.
Oh yeah.
Not surprised, especially if it's from this company.
If I had the $50, I would buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I had the $50, I'd get myself a Fallout hoodie, but...
Yeah, this tie is going for $24.99. That's pounds.
So, still about $50.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite, but once you add shipping from over the pond, yes.
Yeah. Very easily. Alright, next.
Alright, next one. Yeah, Dr. Men, I've got my cue. It's all queued up. Dr. Men, vinyl figures are out now. RP2 Global have announced a set of vinyl figures to tie into the four books published by Puffin Books, based on Roger Hargreaves' colorful characters. I thought they had already produced these vinyl figures, huh?
I think they were advertising them. I don't think they had said that they're officially releasing them yet.
They had, I think, models for them, but they hadn't mass-produced them.
Yet. Okay.
So now they're officially coming.
Okay. Dr. Men are about to enter the third dimension with these unique figurines from RP2 Global. Dr. 1st, Dr. 4th, Dr. 11th, and Dr. 12th will be on sale in Amazon. I guess on Amazon, Smith's Toys Superstores, and Forbidden Planet from the 6th of December.
Maybe they'll be for sale only within the Amazon River.
They're on sale in the Amazon. Go on, dive in.
Well, Dr. Fourth does kind of look like a little bobber. I don't know, but they seem kind of nice, you know.
Someone down river's got a fishing rod out, and he's like, "Oh, look, I got another Whovian."
That you turn Dr. First sideways and it becomes the PBS logo.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. It looks like an angry PBS logo. Cut my funding, will you?
Well, yeah, you wouldn't want to cut the First Doctor's funding. He would definitely have a word.
Might end up with a smacked bottom, but anyway.
Yep,
I don't know. These things and their lack of clothes have always disturbed me.
I think Bill's up next.
Yep. So, in our news on video streaming, Doctor Who Series 9, as in the series from 2015, has just now finally made it to Netflix in the United Kingdom, or should I say, by now I mean about a week from today, or a week from yesterday. Yeah, up until now, only 8 series have been available. And the only thing in Series 9 that was available was Last Christmas, which was aired in 2014. So they're now announcing that Series 9 will come, and no word yet on when Series 10 will make it to Netflix UK. Of course.
Let's see. This aired in 2015. So that aired in 2017. So probably 2019.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Of course, American fans are still unhappy about the fact that you can't watch any Doctor Who series in Netflix US.
No, you have to have Amazon Prime Video.
Yeah. I just
Or
find it
BritBox.
weird that this means UK Netflix is actually behind because Australian Netflix has had Series 9 for a while. Usually they wait. Over here they wait like right up until like a week or two before the next series starts or so. And then they
so that
put
means
the
you're
one
actually on par so far. You know, you just got to get next year's yet, and that'll happen in a few months.
Yeah, it usually came pretty quick for us here when it was on the US version of Netflix, but I don't know.
But now because the BBC's being a pain in the neck.
Right. In other United Kingdom streaming news, some very special episodes of Doctor Who.
Ooh.
Remember, I don't mean Vanguard when I say very. No, I mean some regeneration episodes of Doctor Who are now available on BBC iPlayer. Or wait, is this right? Oh, sorry, premiering on. Wait, damn it! What's always confusing
Bill.
sentences today? No, it's the writing of these articles is terrible. I can never make out what they're trying to tell me.
You should apply to write for them. Be like, I can write better than this.
I'm actually thinking of applying to them as an editor.
Okay, from the 16th of December, so not yet, but soon, a series of episodes will be available and to be viewed on BBC iPlayer. These episodes are The Parting of the Ways, Christopher Eccleston's final episode, The End of Time, I'm assuming parts both 1 and 2, which is David Tennant's final story, The Time of the Doctor, Matt Smith's final episode, The Day of the Doctor, John Hurt's only full episode, and they say The Night of the Doctor has yet to be confirmed, but is still available via YouTube. So that probably won't be on iPlayer.
Yeah.
Might not be, but you can still get it if you want it. And depress yourself by just watching all the doctors die.
Yeah, that is always the thing about doctors leaving. That's a very sad scene. That final scene is always brings tears to my eyes. David Tennant's in particular, with the "I don't want to go," always makes my eyes moist. Even Matt Smith's with his scenes are just tearjerkers as well. Less so with Eccleston because he tries to hide it.
Yeah.
But Tennant and Smith never bothered. Tennant didn't have anyone to hide it from. He was alone. And Smith just he wasn't even expecting to regenerate until about 5 minutes beforehand, so
yeah.
But then if you're seeing the montage, you automatically know that he's going to do it.
Oh, we have a Tim.
Hello?
Hey.
Hello.
Yay!
About 2/3 of the way through the news. We're almost there.
Alright. Hi, everybody. Sorry I'm late.
We told them you'd show up eventually.
Oh,
It's only a matter
Well,
of
that's good.
time.
but what is time but Tim with an E?
Well,
does that make Timothy?
you are Tim the Enchanter. You don't
Mm-hmm.
show up when you're expected. You show up when you feel it is time to be here.
Yes. A wizard is never late, Frodo Baggins.
He's never early. He only shows up when he means to be.
Yes.
Anyway.
Were you done with the article, Bill?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we're pretty much
So
done with that.
moving on to our book news. Of course we have book news because of course there is still a Candy Jar Books, and they will still come out with news nearly every week. When they don't, we are surprised.
If they don't, we're worried.
This week we were not surprised, however, because they announced the next in their limited edition Lethbridge Stewart novel range, or I guess they call them novellas. Whatever. This one is The Lost Skin by Andy Frankham Allen.
That's gotta hurt.
Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart is on leave in New York, but in Scotland, word reaches the 5th Operational Corps that Harold Chorley, journalist in Payne and Lethbridge Stewart's rear, has got wind of the Corps' presence in Stirling. A plan is set in motion to take Chorley on a wild goose chase to John O'Groats as far from the Corps as possible. RSM Samson Ware and Professor Travers travel to the edge of Scotland, leaving a trail of breadcrumbs, which are picked by Charlie? You mean picked up? And his old chum Larry
My
Green.
God, I'm not grammar Nazing already. This is
theme.
just driving me crazy tonight.
Right.
But it soon becomes clear that there is a real mystery in John O'Groats, a strange link between Mehari Docherty, a woman from Huna, and the Orkney Islands, and the local legend of the Selkie. To protect Mehari, Samson needs to sideline Chorley and Green, but the ever-erratic Professor Travers has other plans. What is drawing Mehari to the Orkney Islands? What hold does Chorley have over Green? And more importantly, what links Chorley and Green to the secret history of Mehari? God damn it, people, it's called English!
English, do you write it tonight?
It's a good
Apparently
thing
nobody.
that us.
English,
this was-
motherfucker. You speak it. You
It's a
write it.
Germanic language.
I would hope that they would write it reasonably well. I mean, this is a website.
Well, apparently
selling
their
novellas.
editors don't know how to write the word on.
If their website is edited by the same people that's editing their novels, I'm afraid to read these things.
Right?
Because, God, I can tell you there is nothing that pisses me off than a novel that's poorly edited, that's grammar is just terrible.
Well,
And
it's better to be
this is
pissed
from
off
somebody-
than pissed on.
This is somebody whose primary hobby is reading fan fiction.
I was reading a book for class this weekend, and I came across a typo on like page 60, and I spent the remaining 80 pages paranoid that I was going to run into more typos, and thankfully I did not.
The problem is when you're reading is hitting a typo is like hitting a wall at 50 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
It literally throws you out of everything you're doing, and you're just like, what? Sometimes they're minor enough that you can gloss it over, but sometimes they're just so horrible that you're just completely drawn out of the story. It completely detaches you. It's one of the things that you really need good copy editors when you do when you do books, because otherwise, no. All right, so from books, we go to audio. Oh, wait. I should say
No,
that.
yeah. I have an article still.
I know. I was just going to say that these are now
Stepping
available
all
for
over my
pre-order,
queue.
and is only available directly from Candy Jar Books or from the Lethbridge Stewart website. It does not give a price. Okay, audio. Take it away, Aaron.
Audio? Am
Yep.
I audio?
This is an audio.
You are
Yeah.
audio.
Oh,
You're the first
okay.
part of audio.
Okay. I was gonna be like Big Finish? Me?
Nope.
Nope.
You're not
No.
Big
No,
Finish.
no.
Bill's Big Finish. Your audio.
Alright. Excellent story. BBC Radio 2 is to broadcast a 2-hour special documentary looking behind the scenes of Doctor Who. So they're going to be doing this on Thursday, 21st of September at 8 p.m. It'll have Joe Wiley will be gaining exclusive access to the Doctor Who team. She'll be talking to Piro Mackey, David Bradley, executive producer Stephen Moffat, the Peter Capaldi, and she also will be talking to Matt Lucas as well. Let me see here what else. There will be stories from behind the scenes, including how Lucas approaches being recognized by fans, the radical ways in which Mackey's life has changed. Heel?
I think it's supposed to be Peter, but some Peter or Pearl, I can't tell which.
Reaction to signing a to the Killers, all in the name of getting into character.
The Killer, I think that's supposed to be karaoke sing-alongs to the Killers, which is the name of a band.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I'm like, are
That was
they
my
getting into
conclusion.
character by killing people? Because
I
that's
think
a
I've
horror
heard a
movie.
couple of songs from the Killers. I might actually have one.
Actually, didn't the
Yeah.
Killers have a song on Doctor Who a few
They
years
might
back?
No, that wasn't them.
Hmm.
Not anything I'm familiar with, anyway.
I got soul, but I'm not. I got soul, but I'm
How many typos will we find?
Every article seems to be flawed. This is terrible.
Right.
This is like it's like the
So-
B teams are taking over all the websites this week.
Yeah, this is.
Everyone's on vacation.
Yeah. Do we have anything other than the talking about the article quality about this piece of news?
Nothing much. It is interesting that it's going to be Joe Wiley, because it was on Joe Wiley's regular radio show that Peter Capaldi announced his departure.
Okay.
Mm.
Right, well, the article is closed for me, so it no longer exists.
It's in the
Alright,
void.
so that
Alright.
will be it. Remember, 21st of December, Radio 2.
So speaking
Um,
of things that or were you going to say more?
No, I was just going to do the transition to Big Finish.
Gotcha. I was going to say, speaking of things that no longer exist, the 10th Doctor and Rose Tyler are actually out now in the 10th Doctor Adventures Volume 2. It features Infamy of the Zeros by John Dorney. When Jackie Tyler takes an away day to visit her old friend Marge in Norwich, she finds her holiday immediately interrupted in the worst way possible, an alien invasion. The infamous Zeros have come to take over Earth, or have they? The Sword of the Chevalier, by Guy Adams. 1791, and the Doctor and Rose get to meet one of the most enigmatic, thrilling, and important people in history, the Chevalier d'Eon. She used to be known as a spy, but then she used to be known as a lot of things.
I think we've done these.
We mentioned them.
We may have when it was announced, but they're short enough, I figure to go through
Yeah.
them either way. And the final story, Cold Vengeance by Matt Fitton, because you can't have an Ice Warrior story without a pun, unless it's about Peladon. The TARDIS arrives on Cold Star. God damn it. A fast freezer satellite packed with supplies to feed a colony world. But there are cracks in the ice. Nobody's vengeance is colder, god damn it, than an Ice Warrior's.
I think they need to chill with the puns.
Arnold Schwarzenegger needs to read all of the Ice Warrior
I was gonna
freaking
say.
Yes.
announcements.
Matt, reread that line.
The TARDIS arrives in the Cold Star, a vast freezer satellite packed with supplies to feed a colony world. But there are cracks in the ice. Nobody's vengeance is colder than Ice Warriors.
Chill. All right.
They'll be back.
Our
Arr.
other new releases also features a trio of stories with. Sorry, this one's a quartet of stories with different enemies. This is Unit Encounters, featuring, of course, the New Who unit crew.
By the way, this one was just released today.
Okay. And the other one I believe was last Thursday.
Something like that. It was like one of those things that it's just like, God damn it, release it a day earlier.
Yeah,
They heard us because they released this one today.
So this features the Dalek Transaction by Matt Fitton. When a rogue guerrilla faction offer an alien artifact for auction, Kate Stewart and her team go undercover to the jungles of Central America. Invocation by Roy Gill. It's Halloween and Josh finds himself at a party where phantoms are becoming all too real. I remember that Buffy episode. The Suntaran Project by Andrew Smith. On a routine reconnaissance mission, Colonel Shindy, one of the Big Finish exclusive characters, finds more than he bargains for in the forest of Ardennes. And False Negative by John Dorney. When a strange travel capsule is activated in Unit's laboratory, Osgood and Josh find themselves in a whole new world of trouble.
All right. By the way, if you don't know, the Ardennes are in Belgium.
Ah. All right.
Things I remember from freaking where in Europe is Carmen Sandiego?
All right.
That's the second thing I've answered because of my bizarre knowledge of where in Europe is Carmen Sandiego.
Just let you know, folks all know that Brandy's psyche was forged by edutainment.
My cousin Josh posted some trivia to Facebook. It's like, name the only country in the world that has that completely surrounds two other countries within its borders.
I mean, if you include micronations, the United States does, I think.
No, that's not including micronations. Two actual official countries.
And people say that television rots your brain. Some television rots your brain.
The answer, by the way, is Italy.
Ah.
Because it has both Vatican City and San Marino within its borders.
Is the Vatican not a micronation?
Vatican City has seats on the UN Council.
True, because they're the wealthiest nation in the world, I think.
One of them.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it's technically a papocracy.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was the United Arab Emirates. Their police drive Bugattis.
All right. Since
the fact that Vatican City isn't big enough to need to have police with Bugatti.
And yet they occupy pretty much many countries anyway. Moving to upcoming release information, we have the Torchwood Monthly Range, which has a series of new releases beginning in March 2018.
They got covers now.
It kicks off with the return of Captain John Hart in The Death of Captain Jack by David Llewellyn in March. This is followed by The Last Beacon by Gareth David Lloyd in April. We Always Get Out Alive by Guy Adams in May. Goodbye Piccadilly by James Goss in June. To Be Announced by To Be Announced in July. And Deadbeat, and then yes, that was not an actual title, of course. That means it is going to be announced. And Deadbeat Escape, which I'm assuming is a series finale, by James Goss in August.
Of course, I'm wondering how the hell James Marsters found enough time to go and do audio for Big Finish, because he's currently doing The Runaways.
I guess the same way that Malcolm Merlin was able to do Big Finish before he retired from Arrow. Maybe he borrowed John's Skype account.
Yeah, he's not really retired from Arrow. He just occasionally does cameos.
Weekend off or during the off season or something.
That he had officially announced he was done with Arrow.
Oh, I thought he was going to come back for like just 1 to 2 episodes every now and then. Because he came back at the end of last year for like the finale.
Right. From what I hear, that episode was supposed to be his last, at least for the foreseeable future.
Okay. Getting sick of doing it repeatedly, is he?
Maybe, or just planning on a new like full-time role. In our other news, we also have blurbs for the First Doctor Adventures.
I think we've had blurbs.
I'm pretty sure we only had titles.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what the new details are. I'm going to check if there are other new details here, but so the blurbs we have, the first of two is the Destination Wars by Matt Fitton. The TARDIS arrives in a gleaming utopia in the space year 2003. Oh my God, so far in the future. As the Doctor truly brought Ian and Barbara home to glimpse their future, the world owes much to its legendary inventor, and Susan finds herself face to face with the great benefactor.
Mind you, that's the space year 2003. That does not necessarily mean that it's our 2003.
Yeah. And I mean, I imagine that they're like looking at it from a 60s perspective either way. But yeah, it could be like a Stardate type thing. And it says, soon the time travelers are in a world at war and the Doctor must confront his past. Oh no, they landed in Afghanistan or Iraq. And then the part 2 is The Great White Hurricane by Guy Adams. Rival gangs turn streets into battlefields, and the Doctor and his friends are caught in the crossfire. They find themselves separated and lost in the cold. As the hunt for a fugitive turns ever more desperate, a blizzard descends. The snow keeps falling, and soon it will prove as deadly as any weapon. What I find interesting about this is that the big villain that's been announced is not mentioned here. I'm guessing that he is the legendary inventor. Because otherwise I don't know where the Master would fit into these blurbs.
Unless there's more stories that they still don't have details on.
Nope, the next ones are in the third and fourth story are in the second box, so that's not part of this release.
Yeah, but it's quite possible that he's only in the second box. Because if you look at the listing of acting, he's not listed, so...
It would be weird if they include his picture on the first box, but I'm not
actually,
yeah,
his picture's on the first box, and that mentions only the two stories we have here. So
yeah, but
I mean, he is listed under the cast. It says cast James Dreyfus as the Master for that box.
So it's got to be in there somewhere.
I'm thinking the legendary inventor is going to turn out to be the Master.
Either it's the legendary inventor, or they find out where the hurricane is coming from.
Yeah,
and it's him.
Yeah,
one of the two.
And that is available for pre-order and will be released when don't see it in January.
Or actually, maybe both. He's the inventor and he's the guy summoning out with the storm.
So there you go. By the way, that is it.
All right.
And that is it for our news.
That's it for regular news. Randy, you said you had a few things.
Moving on to our Geek Talk section.
Don't spoil the last episode.
So, this week I sat down and I watched the CW Arrowverse crossover event, Crisis on Earth X, which, if you know, they do try to do a crossover event annually.
Yep.
Last year's event, Invasion, wasn't that great.
It was partially because they were still integrating Supergirl.
Yep, and Supergirl's Supergirl's story wasn't really part of the storyline, other than the last 3 minutes. They definitely changed things up this time.
Yes.
First of all, they didn't show the shows by their titles. Everything was Crisis on Earth X, with its own custom title and everything.
And I'm kind of thinking they're a little foolish not to do a supercut. Actually, they may still announce this, but I strongly doubt it, to do a supercut and put it as a Fathom event or something.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. I would probably pay for that.
I might too, if I had the money, which I don't. But this particular event was actually pretty mind-blowing. It changed the dynamics of every show but Supergirl by the end of it. I will tell you that much, Bill.
Okay, so there's permanent... I mean, they hinted
there's
some
long-lasting
permanent
changes.
So, okay.
Yeah, there's permanent changes to every show but Supergirl. And, of course, Supergirl being in Earth 2 instead of Earth 1, the only people that was really affected from the Supergirl show were Kara, a.k.a. Supergirl, and her sister. Because they were the only ones that were present for all of this.
Oh, yeah, I keep forgetting she has a sister.
Yeah. The entire plot of this that I can reveal without massive spoilers is that everybody is coming to Central City to attend the wedding of Barry Allen and Iris West.
Oh.
When the wedding is actually attacked by Nazis,
Nazis.
or in this case, alternate universe Nazis who have come to the world, led by their Führer, who is Oliver Queen, and his girlfriend / wife, actually wife, which is their world's Kara, because she has a failing heart and basically wants to kidnap Supergirl to have it replaced. So this, of course, leads into a massive fight between our heroes and the villains, and it brings in a couple of characters from Earth X, including their version of Leonard Snart. And it is really well done. It's really kept my interest. I kept watching from next one to the next one. I couldn't put it down. And like I said, the other one, Invasion, just kind of happened, but didn't really affect the storylines. There's no way that what happened here cannot affect the storylines happening.
I think it was involved in wrapping up an ongoing plot that was happening in the Flash at the time, but that was
maybe, yeah. But here, this affects everybody. It affects the Arrows. That affects Team Arrow. It affects Team Flash, and it affects the Legends. So that's a huge event. That's a must see.
Speaking of which, this must be why my friend Mikey's been on a kick about a certain villain character that he's sick of seeing coming back. So this explains this bit to me then.
Why does he not like Captain Cold?
No, not Captain Cold. He seems to be fine with Captain Cold. It's a man in a yellow suit.
Talking about, yeah.
Oh yes.
I
forgot to.
Unless they reveal something in the 4th episode, I don't like the decision they made with him, but I'm holding off on judging until I see the ending.
No. Using him and using that particular actor for him and kind of hand-waving why he's not dead was never resolved.
Wait, what's going on? I'm so confused.
Eobard Thawne.
Oh, okay.
Is the 3rd member of the Nazis that comes in, and it's actually Earth 1's Eobard Thawne, aka the villain in The Flash from season 1. With the same face he wore back then, which is the face of what's his face? H.R.
Harrison Wells, yeah.
Harrison
which
Wells.
I'm guessing is why they did that episode a month or so back with all the Harrisons.
Quite
Maybe
possible,
it's a hint or a reminder.
Either way, it was kind of a weird because they don't really explain why that's happened. It's the only real detractor from this. But it's quite obvious that the creators of this still remembered that this is a comic book because of the way that certain things, especially in episode 4, were directed. There is a scene where the good guys are going to fight the bad guys, and they all show up in a line on each side with the good guys on the left and the villains on the right, and stare at each other for a moment before starting the fight, which looked like a comic book cover.
Or
the opening to X-Men.
How do you fight supervillains? Thought that's how everybody did.
Didn't they do that before? I thought it was on...
You might be thinking Avengers or Captain America Civil War.
Could be.
But I'm going to move on from this for a moment, and because Thomas finally saw Justice League, and I want to hear what he thought.
Yeah. It's funny because I recall after seeing it, I think someone brought up that this seems like their take on Avengers 1. And, to a point, I can kind of get that. But generally, I actually enjoyed the movie. There were some glaring things, like the portrayal of Batman, where he seemed more like Tony Stark light.
I compared it to
Batman.
Clooney Bat.
Yeah. But, because, there was plenty of stuff in there where it's like, wait. I found it entertaining, but it's like, okay, what he's doing's kind of entertaining, but this isn't Batman.
That was my
Um,
exact take on it.
Yeah. I think, like, it's so funny, though, because, yeah, like, it seems like it's the reverse of what is usually the case, where I actually liked Batman in Batman vs. Superman and the Dark Knight Returns crap aside. But, and, like, Superman, they kind of fucked up, but in
Yeah,
this case,
I agree
it's like,
with you.
yeah, but, like, in this case, it's kind of the reverse problem, where Batman seems a bit off.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, Superman seems to be done. Not, I wouldn't, like, I'm not a comic book reader, but to me, he seemed like they finally got him right to a point.
Mm-hmm. By the end of it, they did.
Yeah. I really wish, Steppenwolf had been, like, an actual person, though. Like, rather than CGI, because, yeah,
I think we all agree with that.
Yeah,
His CGI
like-
was messing with me too.
Yeah. Because it really seems like, did you really need to to have this bit? Like, I could get, like, an actual person with, like, maybe CGI touch-ups to, like, make, like, makeup kind of give it more oomph or
Using a
something.
combination of CGI and practical makeup.
Warcraft.
Yeah. I mean, like, we're gonna get, like, CGI Thanos in Infinity War, but,
And Darkseid is probably
which-
going to have to be CG.
yeah.
Well, he's going to have to be a giant guy one way or another. He's going to be a special effect.
Yeah. But yeah, that really kind of threw me off. But, yeah, overall I did enjoy the movie, though I do feel that one of the sort of cameos, early on, from the Wonder Woman bit that they show in the trailer, that actually almost kind of bugged me, because I was like, wait, you wasted that actor on such a small role. The guy who plays Tywin in Game of Thrones is in there, like, briefly, and it's like, wow, you wasted him on such a small role. That kind of irked me.
That particular role or that particular scene wasn't even in the original cut of the movie. It was that whole you're talking about the big theft scene, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that scene was done by Joss Whedon when he took over because he thought the opening needed something.
Okay.
So it's quite possible that he did it because Joss asked a favor, because that's why most people do stuff that Joss writes, directs.
But yeah, I'm also just genuinely glad that I'm pretty sure the from the get-go this was intended to be a Darkseid movie, but thankfully they kind of just were smart enough to a point like Marvel was, where they're just like, okay, actually it might be a bad idea to play that card so soon.
Yeah,
so they went
it
with
is.
Steppenwolf instead.
No, I think they were planning on being that Darkseid would come in like at the end of the second movie, because they're planning 3 Justice League movies.
Originally.
Well, yeah, originally they did.
Originally they were going to 3, then they went down to 2, and then they went down to 1, and then they realized the first one was too long and started cutting back, and then asked Whedon to reshoot things.
I think they're still planning another Justice
Well,
League.
they're still planning another Justice League supposedly, and Aquaman, and I believe Aquaman's already done. I'm not sure about the Cyborg movie, and I believe Wonder Woman's due to be shot soon.
Okay.
Wonder Woman 2, I should say.
As far as people who haven't seen it yet, to be honest, don't bother waiting around to the final credit scene unless you actually liked Batman vs Superman. I'll say that much. But the first one that happens either before or during the credits, that one you can stay around, because that one actually I got a laugh out of.
Really? I actually, we have a friend of ours that went to saw it, and he raves about that final scene. So, because of who's in it.
Did he do a better job than his first attempt?
Like,
because his first
cool,
attempt, I
the
fear,
other
is
one
terrible.
I think
Yeah.
I remember seeing something about an alternate final, like an alternate post-credit scene that was part of Snyder's cut before Whedon changed it.
Oh, maybe.
I don't know, because it felt like Snyder did the second post-credit scene. The first one, though, felt like Whedon.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway, so the reason I cut back to Thomas is I wanted to compare Justice League to this crossover, which kind of felt very Justice League-y at times. In fact,
Especially since somebody did a prep time thing that was very Bruce Wayne-ish.
In fact, if I compared it, the Crisis on Earth X is Justice League Unlimited. Because you basically see, the big three, in the CW verse big three, Arrow, Flash, and Supergirl standing there, and just this entire squad of heroes behind them. And you're just like, oh my god, that's fucking awesome, It felt like the opening to Justice League Unlimited, where you've got the big five or the big six, and then you've just got all these heroes, flying to where they're going. So it's, I still think the Arrowverse wins, for the best league interpretation there. But I feel the movies are getting better.
But will the movies get better soon enough for them to rescue that universe is the question.
I don't know.
We should ask that of Thomas. Thomas, have you seen Thor Ragnarok?
Oh yeah, I saw
Yeah,
that,
he
a
reviewed it
month
already.
ago or so.
Yeah, so
I-
which would you rather see if you could only see it again once, or one of the two?
Well, in a way, it's kind of biased anyway, because they gave me a $10 ticket to see Thor Ragnarok again. So I could probably go see that.
If you didn't have that ticket.
Honestly, I'd probably go see Thor Ragnarok again.
Ooh, burn!
Like, I don't... Like, that said, it does shock me that it took this fucking long for people to give up on the DC movies. It's like, wow, you saw the trailers for Batman vs Superman and you still went in droves to see it, and now Justice League is where you're finally being like, no.
I think that's the
now
thing.
I'm going to speak with my wallet.
I think people watch Batman versus Superman, and I mean the trailers for that were not very good, but they were very disappointed by a number of scenes in that movie, and I think they just gave up on movies that had a Zack Snyder directing credit.
Yeah.
I think he had a
Pretty sure he's
story
poisoned
credit
now.
in Wonder Woman, but not directing, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
The thing is, I went to Batman v Superman pretty much knowing it was going to be terrible. I just wanted to know the extent of the terrible.
Pretty damn bad.
So I could talk about it at OddCon
That's
year.
how they get funding to make terrible sequels.
I don't know. I honestly do not fund what's-his-face, Michael Bay. Okay, I've gone to see a couple of the Turtles movies, but I stopped seeing Transformers movies until they're on HBO.
Alan, you should also note that people have told us that the extended cut for Batman vs Superman completely changes the story.
Not completely, but improves it a little bit. It goes from bad to
There's like an entire hour of missing footage, so...
Yeah. Which does make me wonder how long any kind of director's cut
I
of
was saying,
this
for them
will
fiction,
be.
does he say Martha Kent?
There's probably going to be two separate director's cuts for this movie. One would be the Joss Whedon pre-cutting, which adds almost an hour of footage. And then there's people there for some reason. Zack Snyder does have a fan base, and they're clamoring to see the version of this movie before Joss Whedon.
And the thing is, the Snyder cut, they never finished the CGI on that, so I'm wondering if there's any likelihood of them actually shelling out even more money on this film to do that, because from what I hear, it's not making its budget.
Well, it has the worst opening weekend of any DCEU film.
And yet they cranked it full of as much money as they could fit in it.
Let's see, Justice League. Thus far has totaled domestic and foreign 487,966,230.
Okay, so it made and I think it had a 500 million budget, right?
No, it had more like 250.
Hmm.
It's already
Okay.
made its budget back.
It's
Okay.
barely made its budget back, I think.
But the fact is that when you
of course, with the budget, you don't include the advertising budget too.
The fact, though, when you make a movie like this, and I'm actually going to double check the budget. Budget for this was 300. Oh my God!
Yeah,
Budget. Of
yeah. I
this
was gonna say, I think 200 was low.
No, I said 250 because that's about the average budget we see for a big budget Marvel movie kind of thing.
Yeah, they went over 300.
They went to 300. But the fact is that when you make that kind of money, you expect to see $750 million to $1 billion come back at you.
Yeah.
So it hasn't made as much as they want.
If anything, it's barely broken even with, again, the advertisement budget added on.
Yeah.
Because
Not too sure
they're supposed to cover for the advertisement budget too, but they don't include it as part of the actual making of the movie.
Yes, I know, but
Also, that doesn't include all the for sure money going back to the actual studio because the theaters get some of that money too.
So just in reference, Batman v Superman, which had a budget of $250 million, made $873,260,100.
Okay, yeah, that went well into the green.
That made what they wanted from it. Man of Steel,
Barely.
budget 225, made 688,045,518.
Again, got into the green nice enough.
Suicide Squad, 175,745 million. And
Okay.
Wonder Woman, $149 million budget, made 821,763,000.
Wonder Woman's one of the best ones so far.
Yes. So we're looking at this one, and the fact is that yes, it had a weak opening weekend, but the amount of people that went back to go see it, or the amount that it dropped in standing from week 1 to week 2 was nowhere near as steep as a lot of the other movies. In other words, word of mouth came around that it wasn't as bad, and more people went to go see it the second and third week.
So apparently the word of mouth has circulated around that this is nowhere near as bad as the previous entries.
So
they barely saved themselves. We'll see how the numbers fare, though.
Yep.
It's going to be a close one.
Anyway, that really should cover our geek talk.
Yeah.
Because we went way off topic there.
We rambled quite a while, yes.
Yes,
So,
we did.
stopwatch.
So
Whose turn is it this time?
Not me.
We built it last time. Randy did it the time before, so it's down to me, Tim, and Thomas. Crickets chirp.
Crickets chirp. Yes.
I mean, I'll go if you two don't want to go.
It might have to be that.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, they want me to go.
All right.
I'll go next time.
All right.
Tim's offering for
hold
next
you to
time.
that, Tim.
All right.
Ready, Matt?
All right, ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
We more or less kick off things with the Doctor and Adric inside the TARDIS. They're traveling through space, heading to Gallifrey because apparently they're requested to be there. However, they are temporarily stopped and pulled off course as they talk to an old man who tells them about the fact that he's guarding this particular part of the universe and that the people that he protects are in dire need of help because one of the people that he is supposed to have replace him soon due to his energy running low and his presumed death coming soon might actually be tainted with evil, but he's not entirely sure. So he's asking the Doctor to risk his hide to help protect him and the others as the transition happens. The Doctor and Adric land on this planet, and they are also told about the the evil monster that lurks in the garden that is supposed to be inane due to the good of the planet, which more or less, as the doctor says, causes evil to shrivel up and die. However, as they get there and finally figure out what's going on, they have been told that there's been a rash of attacks, and apparently there's panic amongst the people, and they need to find out who has possibly been murdering people. Upon asking their guardian to show up, the evil creature in the garden has actually moved itself and psychically attacks the guardian, causing him to freak out, shouting about evil and having to quickly run away. The doctor convinces one of the people that's supposed to be a part of the I don't know, what do they call them?
Consuls.
The counselors.
No, just consuls.
Consuls.
When the consuls is convinced by the doctor that he's there to help, even talking to him about what his device was able to detect, and that the doctor knows that this is something very powerful and very unusual. They continue to run about trying to figure out what's going on. In the meantime, the evil monster from the garden talks to the woman who has been watching over it and cleaning it up and talking to it as it suddenly talks back. It leads her to believe that it can help her prevent her husband from being destroyed by becoming the new guardian, and forces her to do questionable things to the point that she finally gives in, and is not only given a device that controls her mind, but also allows her to attack people. She accidentally attacks her husband, stunning him, and the doctor and the consort are both captured and taken away. The wife is then asked to become the new guardian. She takes its place, only for the monsters to suddenly replace her, which also apparently kills her. The monster then says that it will take over ruling the planet, the local galaxy, I guess, and starts making demands, but it can't stay for too long because it's not quite fully meshed with the system that requires it to become a guardian. And the Doctor and Adric from different angles come at this to help stop the monster. Adric setting up a trap that will destroy it through the core of the device that makes it a guardian, and the Doctor trying to play mind games in order to one step ahead of it. The Doctor does finally have a personal meet and greet with the new Guardian, only to figure out that he was right to believe that it was something else, and it turns out to be the Master. He's using his TARDIS as a monster on the outside to try and gain control. The Doctor manages to escape. Adric's device goes off. They destroy the monster and rob it of control. New Guardian is put in place, and the Master escapes while capturing someone else's, the Consular's body, and leaving the Consular's daughter alone on her home planet. The end.
All right. You did it in 4 minutes, 5 seconds.
Thereabouts, yeah. Got close. It's a lot of runaround in this episode.
Yeah. All right, so let's go into our review order and what we liked most about the episode. And guess what, Matt? You're first again.
I'm first again.
Yep.
Yay.
The order changed very little from last week except for one thing. Thomas and Bill got swapped around. That was it.
Okay, so one thing I liked overall about it. Overall, I like the art design. In particular, some of the costumes, from the locals that have these nice flowing long robes to regular wear, and all the way to the monster who looks like a weird art piece, and the fact that he's trapped in the garden is almost kind of perfect.
That was based on an actual statue, by the way.
It was based on an actual statue. Well, that goes to figure. So it was essentially a costume art piece.
Mm-hmm.
It worked really well, and they even have flashing lights in it and everything. So I can't complain about the costuming on this one. Pretty good stuff.
All right. Tim?
I really thought Adric did a really good job in this episode. Like sort of like, I take it like this was his one of his first adventures with the Doctor.
This
What
was
was his
by
first
this
solo
point,
ones?
It was his
It was
fourth
his
serial.
It was his first without Romana.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like just like the dynamic of like trying to like get the Doctor alone with him, without any like buffers. That was an interesting take.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's
And
their only adventure together without
Alone.
any other companion. Yeah.
Yeah.
This
It,
also of note that this is the only or the last classic Who episode, and I think the last episode of Doctor Who since that has had no humans in it.
And
Yeah.
it's also
Because after this it transitions to Tegan, Tegan to Perry, Perry to Ace. The Break and most of the Doctor Who companions in the modern age have been human too.
That's what it says on the TARDIS wiki. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was interesting that I sort of liked Adric in this episode because from what
Actually,
I
he
heard,
did a good job in this one. I agree with that.
I don't think this is necessarily myself, but before I ever saw an Adric episode, I had heard that he had a reputation as being something of a scrappy.
He has a reputation as being that annoying kid on a TV show, but he does have his moments.
It really becomes prevalent during the first season of Peter Davidson.
Yeah.
Because there's
He
so
becomes
many
a little more
things
one note.
where he's given a choice of siding with the Doctor and siding with the bad guy, and either as a ruse without telling the others, or just because of belief, he winds up siding with the other guys. So,
But only because it's what they'll save his hide so he can help the others later.
It doesn't help that he spends his at least half of his last serial whining and moaning.
bitching about how he wants to go home.
And then suddenly decides he doesn't want to go home, and then bitching about how he can't figure out this math puzzle. And then it gets him killed.
Like I said, Adric died the most pointless death in Doctor Who history.
Because he was being an annoying
Come
kid.
with us, it's too late. No, I've got to figure this out. Oh, now I'll never.
Katarina's death may have been more pointless.
I don't know. Wasn't there like space pirates or something involved with that?
Bill,
Adric was okay here.
Bill, Adric died failing to succeed at stopping the ship that eventually wound up creating all life on Earth.
Yeah. At least Katarina, they wrote her off because they didn't want to write for a character that was that hard to write for.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't understand, her people wouldn't have understood what a lock was.
Although they got that sort of character right with Jamie, so I'm kind of wondering if they had given the writers a chance, if they could have come up with something.
Well, Jamie's a little more sensical. They knew about locks.
Yeah.
A little bit more advanced.
Katarina was from, well, she would have known what a lock was.
She was from Troy. No. That predates the lock.
They barely had doors.
Not to say that she couldn't have learned what a lock was or learned what a lot of that stuff was.
A lock is a Scottish lake.
Yeah, no, they had locks as far back as ancient Egypt, hon.
Yes, but would she have known about it?
Probably.
Because that's what the creators describe.
Well, the creators were wrong, but yeah.
That's what they
Still,
have said.
even for a person of her time, she was kind of on the low end.
Anyway, so Tim's favorite thing was Adric. Aaron, what about you?
My favorite thing is just the character interaction. While sometimes the acting could be a little bit stiff, like with the side characters and sometimes with Cassia as well, I think they still kind of pulled it off pretty well. I love the interaction between Adric and the Doctor, just kind of ribbing each other, and and Nyssa and Adric, Nyssa and Tremis, and I don't know. I think they all just really. It was believable for me anyway. I thought it all just really worked, and everyone had a lot of great chemistry with each other. They seemed like they had worked with each other for a while, and a lot of these actors have appeared on previous serials as well. Most of the main actors.
And a few of them would go on to play in later serials, and a couple of them, I think, even were re-tapped for new Who roles. But very few.
So they were familiar with the Doctor Who setting in the show, so it
To some
seemed it was
degree.
pretty cool. Yeah. Like I believe the lady who played Cassia played in one of the first Doctor adventures. As a very young Aztec.
Oh,
Quite possible.
okay. Yeah, that's probable.
I could be mistaking, maybe not Cassia, maybe one of the other, maybe the older female lady.
Not sure.
Not sure. It was
Female
only
lady.
like 20 years
The older
difference at
lady, I
that
should
point,
say.
so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
quite
not
probable
like,
that was her.
Not like now, where the Aztecs was done in 1964.
Yeah.
Yeah, either way, I'm going to say the dialogue. The dialogue and the character interactions that resulted from it, I really liked.
And even Adric and the Doctor at that point, they look chummy as pals on the screen. You wouldn't have known that Tom Baker
Had huge issues with him, yeah.
Yeah.
If nothing else, at least on camera, he was always professional.
At least, I'm wondering at this point if that hadn't died down slightly. Because part of the problem, he already knew he was stepping down next serial. Lala Ward had already left the show. And part of the problem he had was issues with Romana, because he was having a relationship with Lala Ward, and trying to do that and maintain professionalism on there was driving it. But the ongoing issues he had with JNT was, of course, the primary driver, and that was definitely still present. Fucking John Nathan Turner. Anyway. So, Thomas, what did you like about the episode overall?
I think I went with it last week, but I'm going to go with it again this week. The sets. Considering this is, like last week, this is another no exterior shooting at all. So
they have a huge garden, they had
completely...
a huge interiors. A second TARDIS.
And yeah, just like the look of them and all that, it just worked for what they were going for. And I never usually you have that thing where you'll just look at like Doctor Who sets and you'll be like, this is whatever, this looks really cheap, whatever. But yeah, these sets actually looked really good.
All right. Bill?
I'm going to go with Geoffrey Beevers, especially after last week with the muffled mask doctor. Geoffrey Beevers was just so entertaining to listen to.
Master.
Huh?
You mean muffled mask master?
Yeah, from last week.
Muffled mask doctor.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Yes, master.
Well, for this, he wasn't. Yeah.
I can definitely understand why he was Big Finish's first choice as an audio master, because he's pretty much audio only for the majority of this story anyway.
Because they were keeping him a secret, yeah.
Yeah, but he was just, I don't know, he was just delightfully evil and, yeah.
I don't know, he was a little too lively for my taste.
Well, compared to last time, and he's gotten some regeneration energy back in him at this point.
He's not supposed to have.
No, he got energy from
the
a little bit of energy from last time.
Yeah, the implication is that at the end of Deadly Assassin, he's got some energy from
just not enough.
Yeah, not enough to regenerate, but enough to like take
pull him back
back
together
from
again a little bit.
That far.
Yeah. That's why he's less like Skeletor and more like a muddy zombie.
And also partly less like that because the actor was like, can we not do that, please?
No, actually, the mask had fallen apart, had disintegrated. The one with the bulging eyes from Deadly Assassin.
That's how cheaply it was made,
so,
and probably how little use it got.
So they instead they painted teeth on his lips.
Yeah, they essentially did like a makeup number, like they did like almost an old age makeup, then muddied it up to make it look nasty, and then added teeth around the lips.
Yeah. But yeah, apparently it was specifically the actor requested that they not
Gotcha.
go with
No,
the
I
Not
wasn't
go with a
talking
mask.
about the physical appearance. I was talking about the way he moved.
Mm.
His movement was far too lively.
Again, he's got more energy than the last time we saw him, so I'm not surprised that he's a little more lively. He still wasn't like racing around or anything. He was pacing around the doctor, excited that he was finally get his revenge.
Yeah, there was no sword fight, unfortunately.
Yeah.
No, I don't think a sword fight would have been appropriate.
Right.
No, not
But
with this
it-
particular
no,
master either.
I'm just saying. But last time it was a sword fight. It was fun. That's why I said unfortunately. But it made sense for this to be the version that would eventually become the camp master that we would come to know and love.
Yeah, he was a little campier.
He's upping the camp, but he was also upping the threats too. So.
All right. So what I liked about it, I actually liked the score, the incidental music. Of course, by this point, the incidental music was taken back to the BBC's Radiophonic Workshop. The composer for this was a man by the name of Roger Limb.
Roger Limb.
And it is music. We're going to hear him again next week when we do Time Flight. But he did this one. He did For to Doomsday, Black Orchid, Time Flight, Arc of Infinity, which we did not that long ago, Terminus, Caves of Androzani, and Revelation of the Daleks. It's very indicative of the early 80s Doctor Who. And it just reminds me of, that particular era. And this was a good example of it.
Yeah, this was kind of like a light synth, wasn't it? Almost.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they would do that for like a majority of the 80s, and at least something to the similar effect.
Until about the mid to later 80s, like during the McCoy era.
Yeah, until about the McCoy era when they would start to upgrade again.
To the heavier synth.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's the good parts of the episode. What about the bad parts? The parts we didn't like, Matt?
Parts I didn't like. Trying to think of anything I really didn't like overall. Gosh, I'm not actually thinking of anything. I'm gonna have to pass right now until I think of something.
Matt takes a pass. Tim, you're next.
I really didn't like the acting overall in this episode. With the exception of the Doctor and Adric, of course. Just like the whole Trakenians, the Trakenites, they seemed kind of like
because I don't know what the proper term is either.
Trakens?
Trakens?
That's the weird thing.
Draconians?
That like the system of planets is Traken, but like they're going for a specific planet. I forget what they called it.
Yeah.
Actually, I thought the system was.
Actually, I thought the
Orion
planet was supposed to be Traken, and the system was something else.
I mean, she is called herself Traken, so I assumed the planet was Traken.
Yeah.
Anyway, they just seemed kind of unsure of themselves, like of how to behave in any given situation. It was almost as if they were like, wait, where's the camera? Like it's like.
Am I in this scene?
Yeah, and I realized that they were working from a premise that was kind of difficult, like, so they're all about harmony and peace, and like they don't fight, and they're so good that evil just dissipates in the atmosphere, so now how do you present that and make it intriguing to the viewer? So I'm saying I don't think they figured how to do that.
What did you think? You said most of the characters other than the main. Were you including Anthony Ainley's Tremus in that, or?
No, I thought Anthony Ainley's Primus was when it was an exception,
Okay.
but
Mhm.
like
Did
the
it
other
s-
councils.
Did it seem
Yeah.
like they were stage actors who maybe hadn't done enough television to feel comfortable on such an advanced set?
It seemed a bit like that, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that almost sounds
I
like it
think they
might
were
ring
all
true.
character actors of some nature.
What did you
Whether
think
that's
of
stage or
Like
TV.
they're just stiff and off put by what they were doing for some reason.
what did
They
you think
were
of
pretty-
Sarah Sutton's debut in this as well? Was she also a little off put, or did she do okay as well?
That'd be
She
Nissa.
seemed a bit off put in this one, but not as bad as the other ones.
Hmm.
Like she was
Yeah.
kind of middle ground, like she was still getting used to it. This is probably one of her first outings.
It is.
Mm.
They didn't decide, I think, to keep her on until between this one
And the
and
next,
production of the next one, yeah. Because I don't think they just kind of shoehorned her in the like the middle of the second episode of Legopolis.
the second or third, yeah.
Mm.
I forget how long Legopolis is, but they kind of just forced her in the middle,
Legopolis
yeah.
is a full-parter, yeah.
Yep. All right, Aaron, how about you? What did you not like about the episode?
I didn't like how vague. I didn't like the concept of evil in this because it's a very kind of Greek mythos, maybe Greek or drama. You know, Sauron. It's very much like a definitive, dark force type deal. Rather than the more complex, actions that harm people, or what is evil in this universe? What do they consider evil? Is it, obviously a pacifist society, so anything that's violent or, disruptive might be considered evil. But, what about other stuff like certain philosophies and whatnot? For example, they don't seem too keen. They have like a single ruler, but they also rule by council, and this ruler also has the possibility of taking over people's minds too. So,
Well, he's the reason why evil shrivels up and practically dies when it touches their world, yeah.
Yeah. But again, what is evil in this universe? Is it, someone's actions? Is it just a tangible force? And keep in mind that the Melkur referenced or in this, like the statue that's named Melkur, or the things that fall to the planet called Melkurs, that's directly taken from Tolkien, from the Silmarillion, from Melkor. The evil angels, yeah.
Now that you mention that, yeah. That's right. That's technically what Sauron is.
Yeah, and actually, I think I also felt that Sauron was also a kind of familiar sounding name or similar sounding name to
Saren the Sauron, yeah.
Yeah. But that's not directly listed as a reference.
Not
Whereas
directly listed, but it could be a possibility since they're already pulling other names. So
yeah, I saw this on a BBC website.
Anyway,
by the way, so
by
BBC
the way,
archive.
Matt, you were not correct. Sauron was not a Melkur. Melkur was the alias name of Sauron's boss.
Yeah, I thought
Yes.
he was.
Oh.
What are they called?
Yeah.
Maiar, the ones that Gandalf are.
No. Melkur was the name before he became Morgoth.
Mm.
No, I
As in
mean what
Morgoth
Sauron
Boglier,
was.
the big bad.
I thought Sauron was the same race as Gandalf.
Unknown.
I don't think so. Not the same race, but maybe the same power level, thereabouts. And then the ring gave him even more.
Yeah. It's over 9,000.
Essentially.
Anyway, Thomas, how about you? What didn't you like about the episode?
I think there was a few things. But I guess just to narrow it down. God, now I'm going to try and remember the bloody character's name. I knew there was a reason I had that thing open. And this is stepmother to a point in some stuff. Like, specifically just like the effect of like putting the
Cassia?
things over.
Cassia, yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Like, there's like one thing that I might mention later that's like kind of goes completely the other way and turns back around to being hilarious. But I don't know, just like something about it, and just even like the effect they do, where like they put,
the
like,
reflective
the weird
paint.
bug eye things over.
The
So
yeah,
she
the
can,
bug-eyed
like,
paint,
kill
the paint, the reflective paint on her under collar and on her eyes. Yeah,
Yeah.
they did a similar effect
And
for
it's like, it's so
Superman for
obvious,
the
yeah.
outfits in Krypton, but it was much better done.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, it's kind of obvious from the get-go that she's gonna be the one who turns out to be doing all this shit. So it's like, they could have tried a bit harder to not make it look like her.
Well, I think they gave it away to the audience relatively quickly that she was looking for an out for her
Yeah.
husband. Yeah. And she wasn't exactly 100% pleased with how things were going.
Mm.
All right. Bill, how about you?
I really didn't buy the consoles as the main, like, active antagonists. Like, I think it had a lot to do with the fact that their main role was to shout a lot whenever the Doctor entered the room and not to do much else. But they just
They were also
didn't
really
do it
wooden.
for me.
Yeah. They're pretty wooden. I think they were probably some of the most middle of the road to bland actors, and also really two-dimensional. They didn't really give them much breath.
True, yeah.
I would say more one-dimensional than two.
Well,
but
well,
yeah.
well, one-dimensional, whatever.
Yeah, I'm actually going to have to double on Thomas's one there, and I didn't really like Cassia and her very fanatical devotion to the Melkor.
For some reason.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
like, that should have been like a warning to them. It's like, wait a minute, why does she give some, like,
Why
why
are
do you keep
you
coming back to
marrying this
this?
woman?
Why are you marrying this?
Yeah.
Why are you constantly trying to protect your husband? Why are you constantly going on about your statue? Why?
And-
She
And why
does-
why were you declared a council in the first place when you're so obsessed by the statue that you've driven all the
Unstable.
gardeners out of the garden?
Yeah, she's obviously unstable, and she's got a very she can be
Unstable
kind
or
of
under
a cruel.
hypnosis.
Yeah, and she can be kind of a cruel stepmother when she's under hypnosis, at least, because she manhandles Nissa in the garden.
Yeah.
Pretty roughly, in fact. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's like I'm looking at this and going, it's like, why would Tremas want this bitch?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you make this bitch a council? Why hasn't
That's-
she been
that's
taken
true, yeah,
off the
something-
duty?
Something like that, you need to either build up, like, that their relationship has changed or that there's a reason they're in the relationship. Like,
Yeah, you
They
need to have like a
showed
quick
her
scene of
as-
Nissa going, "Why is Mother acting like this?"
They showed her as young. Couldn't they have at least used a quick flashback of her meeting Trimus?
Yeah, there was nothing there. It was that
They
I
did,
don't
well,
know
they
if it
pretty
was-
much jumped like 15 years into the future after
Yeah,
that scene.
I don't know if
Yeah.
it was because if it was in there and they cut it for time.
I kind of like that they showed her as a young Cassia because it kind of gives her a little background as this was not a human being, but this was a person who was young once and then grew up to be an adult with responsibilities and car keys and a credit card.
Also, they gave her a blue outfit to Nissa's purple.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool too.
Yeah, that's a nice little tie-in.
Obviously they're foils. You know, Nissa is taking over for Cassia, and Cassia obviously is, you know, kind of being pushed out in a little. Wow, it's really kind of metaphorical for like a young woman taking over the position of an older woman, just as Cassia is taking over Tremis's former wife's, like his dead wife. She's taking over that person's role.
Wait, was he already previously married? I didn't catch
Yeah,
that part.
well, where do you think Nissa came from? No, Cassia was not Nissa's mother. She's her stepmother.
I didn't catch that part. Okay.
Yeah.
see, but if
Oh,
Nissa,
yeah,
if
it's,
Nissa
like,
started
in
to
the-
sing, then all of the animals would have helped her build a dress to get out from under Cassia's.
As interesting as
control.
this conversation is, I need to move on.
Yeah, we are running long in the tooth here.
Yeah. All right. Favorite scenes, Matt.
Favorite scene? The reveal of the Master and him and the Doctor talking back and forth.
All right.
I just absolutely love that scene. And you got Tom Baker who's trying to play it as calm as possible, while this really creepy looking guy who's playing the Master, and he has to remember, oh yes, the Master, this guy. You again, eh?
And then he threatens to put him down like a wild dog or a mad dog.
All right, Tim.
I love the scene where Adric compliments the Doctor's handwriting.
Damn it, Tim.
It's like
Compliment in scare quotes.
What about it? It's lovely.
Aaron, how about you? Best scene.
I like so many scenes in here. Cassia's death.
Okay. Thomas?
On the similar vein, I'm going with the one where where Cassia just completely flips out and goes nuts, and then kind of faints in the most dramatic way possible.
Yeah, where
it's so
so over the top.
It's so over the top that it turns around from being kind of stupid and just becomes hilarious.
Like she spins around and like her fingers are across her face and everything like that, like as if she's just gotten done doing the bat to see.
All right, Bill, how about you?
I am going to go with damn, what was that just about? Oh yeah.
Favorite.
Why is it bigger on the inside? Because it's dimensionally transcendental. What does that mean? That it's bigger on the inside.
That's a running gag.
Funny.
That's a running gag, and that was one that was done on Adric, so it's obviously he'll do it right back.
The Doctor's usually the one putting, So my favorite scene, I think, is when the Doctor and Adric meet the Keeper in the TARDIS, and it's just like the screen goes down. Oh, I'm sorry. May I use your screen?
I hope you don't mind to use your screen. Oh no, go ahead.
At this point, it's like, yes, this is like dealing with a Guardian, only slightly more polite.
Yes, at least he's very polite, Guardian.
All right, so now we go to worst scene. Matt.
Oh, worst scene. Cassia randomly closes her eyes and lets the laser beam shoot her husband. Like, what were you thinking? You're telling him not to look into your eyes. Why didn't you look away?
All right, Tim?
The scene where Doctor and Edric they're like, they're evil. No, we were ask the Keeper. And the Keeper says, evil. Well, it's like, that just seems so predictable. Like, as soon as the Doctor said, ask the Keeper, he'll vouch for us, I immediately saw where this was going.
Especially when the statue was moving outside.
Yeah, it's like I love how the Master knew exactly what was going on and when to intervene to make that happen. All right, Aaron, how about you? Least favorite scene?
I'm going to piggyback off of Matt's and say specifically the eyes painted on Cassia's eyelids. They're obviously not her eyes, although they still had the time and the money to rotoscope the lasers and the glowing special effects over the irises.
So basically just my scene, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very silly scene.
I don't understand why they did that. They could have just had her keep her eyes open and just rotoscope the special effects over her actual irises. It would have
just
worked
do
a
an
lot
actual
better.
laser effect a little bit more effective.
Mm-hmm.
I could do a better special effect in After Effects.
Because I think the people that were doing the visual, the makeup part of the special effects are used to stage.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas, how about you? Worst scene?
Honestly, I'm gonna go with any time the Doctor's berating anyone, because it doesn't really so much come off as, like, it just comes off like really mean-spirited, especially with Adric. There's like a conversation they have in like the first 10 minutes or so where it just sounds like he's berating Adric more than anything, and it's like, God damn, dude, calm down. He's just a fucking kid.
I think that was more Tom Baker yelling at Matthew Waterhouse.
He was actually yelling at him.
I'm guessing you're excluding the scene with the Master.
Yeah.
All right. Bill, how about you? Worst scene.
I'm going to go with the very last scene because there's the combination of Tremas like randomly like throwing his hand against the Master's TARDIS, and then the whole fusion haircut weirdness.
I think what he was trying to do there, I think he was trying to adjust the hand on the clock.
Yeah, he was trying to. I've read the novelization, and he's looking at this thing going, what the kind of like mentally, and it would have been great if he said it. What the hell is this? And he goes to take a look at the dial because it looks like it's movable, and it basically freezes his hand in place.
Which is more or less what the Master did to the Doctor earlier.
Makes a lot more sense when you put it that way, but like all I just see is like him like slapping it and then freezing. And I'm like, I get the freezing, but what's up with the slapping it? But then the part that pushes it over is the whole like when he takes over his body, he gets a haircut and
he gets de-aged.
And it's how does a dying Time Lord make someone younger? And I don't remember if he changed his clothes or not, but even still,
yes, he changed his clothes.
It's a fusion.
Essentially, it's a fusion, and they combined energies brought back a whole new Master.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was with the power ship, the power of the Keeper ship still lingering.
Yeah.
Because he was getting prepared for that. Yeah.
Yeah, they explain it in Legopolis. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, if you read into it, that's what he was planning on doing with the Doctor's body.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what he was going to do with the Doctor until everything started falling apart.
I actually raised an eyebrow to realize the Master was already planning on stealing the Doctor's body way the hell back then. Something that
I
would
want
come
your
back
regenerations, Doctor. Tasty regenerations.
Yeah, and
so
I was gonna say he has poofy sleeves too.
Yes, he does.
Poofy shoulder pads too.
Yeah, and that's an '80s thing. So my least favorite scene is Nyssa bribes a guard.
That's right. That was a thing that happened, wasn't it?
This is a planet that's supposed to have gotten rid of all evil, yet obviously authority corruption is still perfectly in place. King. Here, I'm the daughter of a council. Oh, I'm sorry, miss. I didn't read that. And here, take this money, and you didn't see me here. I saw nothing.
Well, I mean, she does knock them out, so.
Which kind of indicates that Nyssa has enough naughtiness in her to think of something like that. Which is kind of funny because in all of the appearances of her, I've never seen her do anything like that.
It might be the only thing she was comfortable on doing at home in her own element.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just bothered me because they go on how they've removed all evil and everything is supposed to be utopian, and there you see.
And then you see Nyssa is like the worst person here.
Right? No, it's not Nyssa. It's the fact that the guy accepted bribery, corruption.
Well, and then the guy accepts it.
Well,
pretty
he didn't
easily,
actually. He was basically.
Yeah, he was actually trying to fight with it, and then she knocked him out.
Yeah, and like she revealed what she had was just something to knock them out anyway.
Either way, it was just kind of like, what the hell? It was just a what the hell scene to me. All right, so final thoughts. Matt.
Going back to me. So final thoughts. The story is actually pretty decently done. Sadly, some of the actors are a little bit wooden, even more so than the Melchior. The Doctor and Adric actually come off as really nice and likable characters, despite what was supposedly going on in the background. But then again, maybe Tom was a bit relieved because he was going to be leaving soon. Decent artwork, decent set work. Just that some of the little touches needed to be a little more fine-tuned, I think.
All right. Tim?
I was rather unimpressed by this episode.
It must have been terrible.
It was like the story was rather unengaging. The acting was wooden, except for some exceptions, and but I didn't really find it in my heart to hate it all that much either. I just it was kind of meh for me.
Kind of that happened?
Yeah.
All right.
That's the thing.
Aaron?
I really enjoyed this one. I love the costumes, the sets, the dialogue mostly, and most of the acting. And I kind of like the story and the treachery and just the interesting stuff going on here. A lot of little cool things. So I highly recommend it.
All right. Thomas.
Overall, I'd say this is a fairly I enjoyed it. It's good. It's not great though. There are probably some tweaks that it would need to have gone beyond that. It's not as good as the story that comes after it as well. But the one thing this story made me do, which I don't think many of the stories that we've watched have made me want to, is this actually made me want to watch Legopolis, and I did.
Yeah, I kind of did too, because this is kind of the prequel to Legopolis.
Feels
And I
incomplete without that
almost-
next step, doesn't it?
Yesterday, I almost, when we got done watching it, just went immediately to the next
DVD.
Yep.
No, not to the. I wasn't watching this
Same
on DVD.
DVD,
I was
right?
watching this
Oh.
on Cult Box, so just right to the next episode.
And of
Almost
course,
did it.
as a podcast, we're skipping the two serials that immediately follow from this.
Yes, because
we already did them.
Yeah, because we've already reviewed them as part of our endings and beginnings. But yeah, you kind of look at it and you realize that this kind of was the original three-parter.
Three-parter meaning, I think, 14
This
parts?
Legopolis
Right.
and then
Well, three-part
I know what you
series,
mean.
three
I know what you
serial.
mean.
Yeah, sort of trilogy of stories.
Mm-hmm. Which just came off of one of the other trilogy of stories, being the East Space.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
So really, you kind of go from the East Space trilogy to the Legopolis trilogy, with this being the lead-in, and then Legopolis itself, and then Castrovalva being the follow-up. And then you move on. Anyway, Bill, how about you?
This story was definitely underwhelming. I kind of had high hopes with first appearance of Sarah Sutton, first appearance of Anthony Ainley, and altogether I just found it really underwhelming. The only thing that really impressed me was Geoffrey Beevers and a little bit of the stuff with Adric, in terms of probably better interaction with the Doctor than I've seen his interaction with the Doctor before. But that was kind of a small part of the episode anyway, so it just didn't do much for me.
I'm getting the feeling that you're not much of a classic person, Bill. You tend to rate those a lot lower than you rate the regulars. Either that, or you
now
have
I'm gonna
some
have to
kind
go
of.
through and check because I
You-
know I've
you-
given certain things in the classic era pretty high scores, especially the Seventh Doctor.
Either that, or you just have some kind of mental hate going on against the Fourth Doctor.
Seriously, dude, what is your issue?
Anyway, my opinion on this episode is I actually like it. I don't think it's perfect by any means, but I thought the story was well written. The sets and costumes looked good. Some of the special effects were bad, especially the eyeball thing. And yes, the acting, the primary acting is good, and the secondary acting's a bit stilted. So it's good. It's not perfect, but it's very good in my opinion, I think. Anyway, we go to the ratings, and Matt, you give it your first rating.
Oh gosh, here we go.
Deadly Assassin was a 4. What's this one?
Deadly Assassin was a 4. Oh gosh. I'll have to say 4.5.
4.5.
I think this was just a little bit better. I like this one a little bit better.
All right. And Tim, our unenthused person.
I will give this a 3 because if I have to give it any lower, that means I would have to actually dislike the episode, and I did not do that. It's like,
But any more would mean that you liked it to some extent, and you're just absolutely nonplussed.
right.
All right, Aaron.
I'm going to give this a 4.5 as well.
All right, Thomas.
I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
3.5 from Thomas. Bill.
I'm going to agree with Tim for the 3.0 on this one. I didn't like it any better than last week's, and that's the score I gave last week. So.
All right. In a hard spot here. Oh, do I like it enough to give it a 4.5? Oh, yes, I think I do. It just barely qualifies, but it qualifies. And that will take our average up to a 3.8, actually lower than last week's.
Ouch.
Thanks to Tim and Thomas scoring lower than last week's. And it actually comes out to 3.833, just for sake. And that will put this at... Hate it when I can't find the right column. I know. I wish I could I wish I could have this shortcutted. At 3.8. The Keeper of Traken comes in at number 117 of 225.
Ooh.
So just under the halfway mark.
Which means it could end up being pushed over. If we get any more low ballers.
If we get crawlers, yeah. If we review nothing but crawlers, and next week is probably going to be a crawler.
Oh, God, yes.
All right. It is on par with Boomtown, Ghostlight, Enemy of the World, Girl in the Fireplace, Invasion Earth 2150, Day of the Daleks, Red House, Robot of Sherwood, the Season 10 trilogy, Time Monster, Power of the Daleks. It's better than Flatline, Moonbase, The Daleks, The Innocent, and not as good as Jago and Lightfoot Revival, Guardians of the Dead, The Chase, The Next Doctor, etc. 117 of 225. That's all we have to say about the Keeper of Traken.
Hey, if you enjoy listening to us, please, like the video, share, subscribe. Twitch.tv/Unearthly Podcast and Unearthly Podcast on YouTube, wherever you found us and wherever you didn't. If you want to keep up with our reviews, you can also follow us at Facebook.com/Unearthly Podcast. Join our group, have some chats, and on Twitter at Twitter.com/Unearthly Pod.
All right. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go. Okay.
Oh,
if you want to support us, you can head on over to patreon.com/Unearthly Podcast and do so there.
Sorry, I thought you were done. I was trying to jump in.
Yeah.
Next week, as we mentioned, we are going to skip Logopolis and Castrovalva, as we've already done those. So we are going to look over them and move past
That's a
into
shame.
the Peter Davidson era. Well, we've already reviewed them, so.
I know, but still.
And into the end, I believe, of his first season, where he is going to deal with a plane taken out of time in Time Flight.
Isn't it the start of the second season? I can't remember.
It's the last serial of the second season. We all of the first season.
The second starts with Arc of Infinity.
Exactly, which we've done already.
Yep. So this is Time Flight, written by Peter Grimwade and starring Peter Davidson as the Doctor, Sarah Sutton as Nyssa, Janet Fielding as Tegan, and Anthony Ainley as the Master.
And a pudding face.
See you next week for the horror. The horror. The pain of it all.
You thought this week was bad. Oh, dearie me. When the Fifth Doctor's your only saving grace.